Hi grade 1, so I'm outside in the K2 garden area and they have one beautiful sunflower that's blossoming. So I just wanted to take a quick video of it to show you. It's a little bit different to the sunflowers Van Gogh would have painted because it has much bigger petals and they're a bit more of a pale yellow colour. But you can see all the details inside the middle. Look at all these lovely pieces where the pollen would be, all the little spots and dots. And you can see all the lovely lines on the petals. I'm going to search around school, see if I can find any more sunflowers. I didn't find any more sunflowers outside at school, so we're going to use that sunflower from the K2 garden as inspiration for our sunflower picture. You can use to draw a pen, so it could be a permanent pen like this or a non-permanent pen, or you could use pencil. I'm going to do it in pen so you can see my picture quite well. We're then going to add some colour. If you were going to be adding paint or watercolors or anything wet to your picture, make sure if you're using pen it's a permanent marker or use a pencil. If you're just going to colour it in with coloured pencils or crayons, then a normal pen that's not permanent is fine. Okay, I think I'm going to use some paint or some watercolour pencils on mine today, so I'm going to use a pen. Okay, so the easiest thing is obviously to start with that circle shape in the middle. And if you remember from the picture, the video from outside, it actually has a kind of smaller circle inside that's filled with lots of dots. And then kind of around, there's lots of pieces with dots as well, which are the long pieces that grow up from the middle. So I'm just going to do a dotty line there, and I'm going to add a few dot shapes inside the middle, just to show those different areas of the sunflower. If we were doing this at school, I would have lots of lovely sunflowers for you to look at. But as you're at home, you can look at the pictures on the screen that I've sent, or maybe you want to go and buy some sunflowers at the flower market. Okay, so we are now going to draw our petals. And if you look at my hand, we're going to try and do it this way. We're going to look at the width of the flower, and we're going to try and keep our fingers the same distance apart and make our flower the same length. So I'm going to measure the middle. I'm going to go to the edge, and then where that finger is, I'm going to put a little dot. And I'm going to do the same here, put a little dot here, here, do the same there. It's not exact, but roughly gives you an idea so your flower, your petals don't end up too small. And then we're going to go from the middle, I'm going to go curvy line to the dot. I'm going to do the same for all of those dots that we've drawn. Now this is going to be a rough guide for us to fill in the spaces around it. And then you can see where I've got some gaps. I'm going to draw some more petals. So I'm going to try and fill in all those spaces with petals, keeping my petals the same length. Oh, one more big space there. Now the lovely thing with the sunflower is it has a row of petals in front, but then it usually has a row of petals behind, sometimes even 2 rows behind. So all I'm going to do now is fill in the spaces as if I can see just the top of the flower, because the bottom is of the petal, sorry, because the bottom is covered up by these 2 bits. So I'm going to go up and down and fill in the spaces in between. If you are looking at a real sunflower, then maybe you can look closely and see, are there more petals behind? I'm going to stop mine there. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm going to, with the pen or the pencil, I'm just going to add a few faint lines. If you remember the sunflower that we found outside the K2 classroom had quite a few lines to show where the petals are folded. So I'm going to do that on here as well. Sometimes it's easier to start with a straight line in the middle and then draw a couple of curved lines around it. And they don't all have to be the same. It's because it's a fold or a crease in the petal, the lines appear when the light shines on. So they're actually shadows. So they look different depending on the light, so they don't all need to be the same. Okay, and then if you see I've got some space here. So what I'm going to do just to finish my picture off and make it more colourful is I'm going to draw some leaves around it. Normally sunflowers have great big green leaves. So I'm going to think of how I can make a big leaf shape here. So I'm going to go to the corner, come down really big, and then I'm going to come from my point to the middle to show those veins. And remember, on a leaf, your veins come from the middle, going to the edge. Remember as well that your leaf is behind your sunflower. So make sure you don't draw the veins on top, make them behind. And if you get to a line like here, then stop drawing. If it will continue the other side, you can keep drawing where you have the spaces. Okay, I'm going to do another leaf here, maybe a little bit smaller. So here I've got the vein, the petals in the way, so I go round. Don't draw over. And I think I'm going to have one more leaf here. So again, the veins go from the middle. And Van Gogh loved to draw sunflowers. He did so many sunflower pictures that you can see on the slide. Okay, now I think that looks pretty good, but I'm not sure where my sunflower is, where the stem is. And I've got a big space here. So what I'm going to do is imagine the sunflower is kind of coming this way, and I'm going to draw my stem over here. Van Gogh liked to pick his sunflowers, and then sometimes he'd put them on the table or put them in a vase of flowers. So I can imagine that maybe this sunflower is lying on the table. I've drawn a picture of it. A bit like this. I found not a real sunflower, but a fake sunflower. So we're imagining, whoops, it's a bit like that, with the big leaves and the flower here. This isn't a great fake flower, which is why we haven't really looked at it, but that's the idea. Okay, so when you've drawn your flower, you can then colour it in. You could use anything. I'm hoping you have something at home. I am going to use these nice, big, thick pencils, colour pencils, because they're quick, and they're actually watercolour pencils. If we were doing this at school, I might let you use watercolour pencils. They're quite fun. So I'll show you how they work. And if you're using colour pencil, you can do the same, and then you just don't add the water. Or maybe you have colour pencils that are watercolour pencils and you didn't realise, so you could test it out. So I am going to colour my petals in, all of my petals in yellow. And then I'll do a little bit and talk it through, and then I can speed it up after. So I've done a little bit to show you. On that yellow, I'm just going to add a few little lines of orange to change the colour a little bit, to make it a bit darker. And I'm actually going to add some orange, more orange behind. The petals behind would be in shadow because they're behind the others, so they would be darker. And then you can see what happens is when I add the water to it, the water makes the pencil turn into paint. And then I can actually be much quicker at adding the colour to my picture. So it's a bit like I'm colouring, but also I am painting.